Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Live with Prima. My name is Frank. I hope you guys can hear me and see me okay. Sorry for the late start. We had a bit of a little technical issue. Can everybody hear me and see me okay? Hi, Janelle. Hi, Carrie. Okay, perfect. You guys can hear me and see me, so that's good. Sorry again for the late start. So today we are going to be working on a beautiful treasure box. I want to pan down the camera here so you guys can see what we're working on. Hope you guys can see this okay. And we're going to be doing a treasure box, sort of like a follow-up to the one we did a couple of months ago. So if you guys remember, a couple of months ago we did this box on the show. It's a really fun project. It's a little treasure box that you can use to store all kinds of cute stuff. And this one was a project we made a couple of months ago. You guys can go ahead and check that out. It's recorded on Live with Prima. And so today we're going to be doing another box, and people had been asking me after they did this box, well, what do you do with the other boxes? Like, what can you do? So this is sort of like the big sister of this box. So we're going to be working on a larger version of this box with a bit of a different twist. We're going to be using a little bit of fabric, some laces, and some other Prima products, as well as the smaller box on top that you can go ahead and use to put something in the middle. So for example, on this one, I used one of the relics, and you can see inside you can also store all kinds of beautiful stuff inside. So these are just some fun boxes that you can do with any sort of theme, even if you wanted to do a wedding or anything like that. So we're gonna get started, and I did kind of prep some stuff ahead of time, so that way you guys don't have to watch me do silly things. So the first thing is we're going to go ahead and use these trays. So as you guys heard earlier, I used these trays in the earlier class. I used the medium size tray, which is the 5x7. And I'm going to be using the larger tray this time. So you need two sets. You're going to need two sets to be able to create a box. And you're going to need one of the small trays, and you're going to need two of the larger trays. And these are 941772, and these are from Sandra's collection. I went ahead and pre-painted the boxes, so all you need to do is paint the boxes a little bit with a vintage white paint. I used sort of like a vintage white on just the edges, and you can see right here I just did a bit of an edge. Sorry about the camera. There we go. So you want to go ahead and paint those and give them a quick dry. And like I said, we were using the big ones here. And then you want to just go ahead and put them together. So you can see right here that they match up perfectly. And you want to go ahead and pick the area that kind of is more flat. Because sometimes, since these are wood boxes, they're not going to be 100% perfect. And that's okay, because treasure boxes aren't usually 100% perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and put those together. And I'm going to take some of my artisan tape. So you guys know that I have bookbinding grade tape, and this tape is great for this type of project too. So even if you're attaching wood boxes, this will work equally the same. So I'm just going to carefully put that in the middle of the two boxes. That way they will get attached. And I had a couple of people ask me in my class, well, will that hold together? It will. I've had this box for, I guess, close to a year, the smaller one. And it's held together pretty good. So remember though, these are boxes meant for more decor. You're not going to go ahead and throw them in your luggage or anything like that. They're not meant for you to, throw them around or anything. They're more for decor. So you wouldn't necessarily use this as, your cosmetic case or anything like that. But it's more for like, putting it in your living room or your room, craft room, more for decoration. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this tape on there. I'm going to make sure it's nice and attached. That way I can go ahead and open it and close it. Okay. Sorry about the autofocus, guys. I know the camera's kind of acting up a little bit. Okay. So now once that's attached, I'm going to put that to the side so that I can finish painting a couple of things. So I'm going to take just some scrap paper here so that I can go ahead and finish painting. I need some of my Dresden trim. This is Sandra's Dresden trim, and I don't have the item number for this one, Carrie. Sorry. But this is the gold kind of fleur-de-lis looking Dresden trim. Okay, and I'm going to use again some of my white paint. And I'm just going to give this a whitewash because I don't want it to be this gold. I don't want it to be so bright. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my paintbrush and I'm just going to go ahead and give it a whitewash. And it takes paint very, very well. You just need to kind of give it a nice coat. And you'll see here that it turns white almost immediately. I'm going to just smooth this carefully to the side. And you don't want to overpaint this because it is paper, but just want to give it a quick swish with the paintbrush. And it turns it into this really pretty vintagey white trim. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a dry. Okay, so that should be fine. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside. And we have one more thing that we need to paint, and that's going to be, well, actually, just a couple more things. I'm going to be using this heart resin here from Sandra's collection. This is the Rising Spirit, and this is with the wood support. We're not going to be using the wood support in this project, but you can definitely save it for something else. This is 941A33. So we only really need the heart. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the rest of the pieces back here. And we don't need the little screw that's on top, so I'm just going to go ahead and carefully remove it with my scissors, and it just kind of comes apart very easily. And you can save this little screw for whatever else you need. You can use it on your books or anything like that. I'm just going to go ahead and give this a little bit of a whitewash as well. Okay, so I'm just going to take some of that paint and just kind of paint it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to make sure you get all the areas painted. It just adds that really perfect vintage white look. And you may need to do a couple of coats. So we're going to just do one coat right now, just to kind of get it started. Okay, and I'm going to give it another coat. And you'll see that as you dry it, the paint will go easier because now you have some sort of tooth to be able to hold that paint on there. So I know a lot of people were talking to me about having trouble painting the relics, but they're really easy to paint once you get a couple of coats of paint on there. I would say probably about 3 coats would be good. So this is my second coat. And I'm just going to do one more just to kind of make sure that I have it nice and pretty. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to these pieces. Just makes them look really nice when you have them really, really matte. Just like the look of that. And like I said, these come together very fast, especially when you're giving them a couple of coats. Let me just okay. You can see here how beautiful that is. It's perfectly matte and there's no streak. So when you paint these, remember, you're not going to do just one coat. You want to do a couple of coats. That way you can get a more perfect coverage. So now the other pieces that we're going to paint just real quick are going to be these resins here. And these are from this Shabby Chic Treasure set. And we're using the ones called Liqueur, and this is 891442. These are from the Shabby Chic Treasures. We're going to do the same thing, but these will come together a little bit faster because they don't have that much smooth areas. They're more a little bit more rough. So they'll take the paint a little bit easier. And I'm just going to give this another coat. Okay, so I have two more pieces here that are perfectly painted. And like I said, this is a really fun trick to doing the paint. You just kind of paint it, dry it, paint it, dry it until you get that perfect coverage. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and give this a nice coat of crackle paint. So I'm using just clear crackle, and I'm just going to go ahead and apply it on the heart. And I'm just going to give it a thin coat because you don't want it to be too thick. Now I'm going to use a brush that's already dry because I was going to use one that's damp, but that's probably not, it's not going to work as well. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a coat. And you don't want to saturate the piece, you just want it to be a little bit thin. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply it on top of the heart. You don't have to worry about the middle part because you're probably not going to see that so much. Okay. And once we do that, we're just going to set that little guy aside. There's no need to dry it right this second. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave that aside. So removing a little bit of the excess on here. Okay. Alright, so once we have that, we're going to go ahead and let that sit for a second. So the next part is going to be prepping our boxes here. So we already have The box is ready to go. I'm gonna have the Dresden trim here. And I'm gonna take some glossy accents. Glossy accents works really well with this trim. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and take my scissors. Okay, and I'm gonna just separate these pieces here. And these come apart very easily, so all you have to do is kind of gently pull it apart. Okay. So now what you want to do is you want to take your box, and we're only going to put the actual trim on the top part right here. So we're not actually going to do it everywhere. We're just starting on the top. Okay. I'm going to run a little line of glossy accents here. And I'm going to start right at the edge and just run it all the way down, making sure that the flat side is on top. And then as soon as I have it positioned, I'm just going to give it a quick dry. I'm going to go ahead and move to the next part here. Again, I'm going to run a line. And then run this all the way through the edge. I use this crackle paint because this one's a clear medium. The one that Prima has works for different purposes, I think, but that one requires some hours to dry. This one kind of dries almost in a couple of minutes. So depending on the use of it, the large Prima jar of crackle paint works well for large pieces. So if you're going to do like a canvas or like an altar piece, something that's larger, you would apply the Prima one on there, and then it would take probably about 4 to 6 hours to dry. Whereas this one's more for smaller projects like this that you can go ahead and apply very easily. And it dries in a couple of minutes. So that's why there's a difference between the different crackle paints. I hope that answers the question. Okay, so we have the first layer here. Okay, I'm going to just trim off the excess on the side. Okay. And I'm going to move on to the next part here. So I have my top piece already on there. You can see how pretty it looks once it's painted and everything. You can see the nice effect. Now the next one is going to go on the bottom. So I'm going to just start on the edge. Just going to trim off the piece here. And I'm going to start right over here on this side, on the bottom. So I'm going to run a line of glue here. And I'm going to start down here, making sure that my little pointy parts are pointing towards the other ones. Okie dokie. Then one more side over here. Oops. Okay, so you can see right here how pretty that makes the box look. You have this really pretty trim on there, and it's paper. That's what I find mostly amazing, that this product is basically paper and it makes it look like it's a nice metallic trim. It looks really, really nice. So that's going to be on this box. Now we have one more of these trims, and this is going to go on this smaller box. Now, since this box is going in the middle, we want to make sure that we're putting the trim on all four sides. So I'm going to start on one of the sides here. Oops. And I'm only putting this trim on one edge of the small little box. You don't have to put it on all, on top and bottom, just on one of the sides. Okie, and then we have one more side here. Okie dokie, looks good. And this would be a cute trim to put on Christmas cards or any sort of project that you have in mind that needs like a little bit of a regal touch. It's a really fun trim. It comes with different colors. Okay, so we have those ready to go. I'm gonna check on our little buddy over here, see how it's going. And I'm just gonna take a little piece of scrap paper. So it looks like it's almost dry. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a little help. So I know you guys were asking about the difference between the crackle paint, and this is really the biggest difference. See, it's dry, okay, and I know you guys can't see anything, but that's where we're gonna bring out those details from the resin and everything else. I'm gonna be using my artisan powder. I'm gonna be using my umber and my black color, okay? And if you guys have never seen artisan powder is a pigment powder, so it does not have any shimmer. It's a matte medium that you can use on any sort of surface to make it vintage. So it's a really fun product. You can also mix it with water. You can mix it with gels, gessos. Someone used it on metal the other day. So you can use it on virtually almost anything. It does get everywhere, so you do need to be careful when you use it because it does stain a lot of surfaces. And I like that it comes with a little sifter and I just shake it, sort of like foundation. Not that I use foundation, but you know what I mean. So you just shake it and a little bit comes out at a time, which I love. So we're going to be using those two colors. And I'm just going to be using a regular brush for this. And I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit on the heart. So I'm going to start with a little bit of the black. And I know the black kind of scares everybody because it's like, oh my god, he's putting black on there. But I like the black because it brings out a lot of those details. Okay. Then I'm going to take a little bit of the brown and start mixing in those colors. The brown really adds that really nice vintage flair. Gonna put a little bit inside here. And you can see right now in a second, I'll show you guys a little bit up close, but you will see that all those details from the crackle really come alive with this powder. Now what I like to do when it gets a little dark, I like to just run my fingers and I just remove any excess powder from the heart. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to apply a little bit of this color here. And this is a permanent powder, so once it sets, you're ready to go. You don't have to do anything to it. It just kind of settles on its own. And you can see how pretty that looks. I don't know if you guys could see the cracks very well, but there we go. It looks like a very vintage relic. That's what I really like. It looks old. Okay, so now that we have that going, I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit of color bloom. I'm gonna use Empress Gold. I'm just gonna spritz it a little bit with that, getting a little bit of some gold drips on there. And give this a dry. Okay, what do you guys think? It looks so pretty. I love it. Okay, and that's how the artisan powder works. It's very fun. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm gonna go ahead and take my glossy accents again. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put some of that inside the heart in the middle here. Okay. Then I'm gonna take a little bit of glitter. I'm putting on some glitter in the middle of the heart here. Just gonna shake off the excess into my jar. And I'm gonna brush off any excess glitter that got stuck. So I'm just gonna brush off any excess. I love how that looks, so pretty. Okay, so once we have that going, I'm just gonna add a couple of more details to this. I'm gonna take a little piece of rhinestone trim here. This is just a rhinestone trim you get in your craft store. And I'm gonna add a little tiny bit of glossy accents on here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put that on there. Then I'm gonna go ahead and take another rhinestone that I had, and this is from a vintage bracelet that I had. So I like collecting a lot of vintage jewelry. So if you have any old earrings or stuff that you don't use, it's always fun to add this kind of stuff. I have this pink little rhinestone. Gonna add a little dot of glue here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just glue this on right in the middle. You can see how pretty that looks. Okay. Once I have that, I'm going to take one of the pieces from this set here. This is the vintage trinkets. This is 930001. I'm going to take one of these larger teardrops. And I'm going to cut off the top little eye ring thing because we don't need that. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue this in the middle of the heart. Love how that looks. Okay. So now it's time to put our box together. I'm gonna let that guy hang out over there for a minute. And we have our box here. Need to make sure it's opening in the right place. Okay. And I have a bit of fabric here that I'm gonna use for the top. This is just fabric I got at a fabric store. You can get any kind of fabric. Kind of like this one. It's pretty pretty. And I'm going to take some batting I had, and this is just some batting I had at home. You can find this again at a craft store. And I'm going to just try to cut it to the size a little bit smaller than my fabric here. And I do like to use 2 layers because I like it to be puffy. And I am not really checking for perfect measurement here. You guys know I hate measuring, so just bear with me here. And you want to make sure you leave enough room on the edges to be able to glue. I like using glossy accents. Mine never come off. But again, it just depends. I don't know. Okay. So now that I have this, I'm going to go ahead and glue these two together first. And it's a little bit tricky to glue this on because it's sort of cottony. There's a lot of fibers. So it'll kind of stick to your glue bottle, but just gotta be careful when you're doing it. And I'm gonna go ahead and layer this on top. Gonna press it together. Now this whole piece is going to go on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue it on. And I'm going to center it in the middle as best as I can. And I do have a little bit of excess right here, so I'm going to trim that off. Okay, so now once we have this, I'm gonna go ahead and take this and glue it onto my box. Okay, making sure that it's nice and even. I'm gonna start with one of the sections here that I have room to do, so I'm just gonna do this right here. I'm gonna press this down, and I'm not worried about it being perfectly straight because we're gonna put some other stuff on here, so as long as you get it to glue on, you're fine. Gonna lift this up and put a little bit more glue on the side. And I am using fabric glue, so you need to make sure you're using a very strong glue. Hot glue works well, but since it's so meticulous, you don't want to get burnt. So I'm just using fabric glue. Okay, and we have the last side over here. Gonna remove all these little frays. Okay, you can see how that's nice and puffy now. It looks like a little pillow. So now once I have that, I'm gonna take some trim. I have some lace that I brought here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and run some glue on here. And I'm gonna start on this side. And I'm using the trim to cover up sort of the imperfection of the fabric because I didn't really cut it straight, and that's really okay because I don't cut straight. But once you put the ribbon on there, you'll see that it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna run one more piece on this side. And I'm going to go back and cut off all the excess trim from here. You can see how cute that looks already. Now once I have that done, I'm going to take my next piece of lace. We have this really cute vintage lace. And I'm going to put it on top. But for this one, I am going to use hot glue because it is a little thicker. I need one more piece down at the bottom here. You can see how pretty that looks. Okay. Now we'll be adding some trim to this, but we'll do that in a minute. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and attach some rhinestones on here. So I have some rhinestone trim that I'm going to add to the box. And I'm going to put it right above the trim we just put on. And I'm going to run a line of glue at the top. And I'm just using some rhinestone trim I got at the craft store. I need to try to get it as straight as possible because sometimes it kind of moves around. This one's sort of flexible, so it does kind of move around a bit. Okie dokie, we need one more piece here. Okay, so now that we have that, that's ready to go, and you can see how pretty that looks. Just need to make sure that some of them are a little straight. Some of them are kind of twisting. Okay, now we have that. We're gonna go ahead and take this box here, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the middle here of my piece, okay? And this one, since it is a little bit heavier, I am gonna use hot glue for this. And I need to make sure I get some of these edges here. Okay, so we have our little tray at the top. Now, just to make sure that we have everything we need, sorry, I'm just cutting off a little bit of the excess here. I'm going to do this on the side here. Now for this, I went ahead and sprayed some of my Rosette trim. This Rosette trim is item number 99459. It's the Petite Rosette. And I went ahead and sprayed it with a little bit of cotton candy color blue. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick dry because it's still a little damp. Okay, so I have the trim here and it's nice and dry. I'm going to move over here to the side. Now I don't want any of this netting, so I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it under the trim. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and run a line of glue on top of the tape, so you don't need to remove the tape liner. Okay. And this one's gonna go right next to it. And I think I may have room for one more. Okay, you can see right here how cute that looks. Okay, so we're kind of getting there. We're almost done here. Just a few other things that we need to do. So I'm gonna take my journaling cards here that I have. These are paintables. These are the 4x6, and this is item 814274. I love these because they're so French and beautiful. I'm just gonna pick one here. I like this one. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut this down a little bit. I probably need to cut it down. Let's see. Needs to be about 3 by 5. So I'm just gonna go ahead and eyeball this, of course, because that's what I like to do. You need to trim just a little bit more off. And that's perfect. Just gonna go ahead and ink the edges on this. I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on here. Okay, now I'm going to take one of the smaller paintables. There's some smaller ones. And I'm going to take the one that says Paris because that's my favorite one. Okay, and I'm going to use some foam tape to apply that. Okay, and I'm going to put this in the middle here. Now to make everything look cohesive, I'm going to apply some more trim. Okay, one last piece here. And you can definitely use any sort of trim or lace that you may have at home. I just have so many pretty laces that I collect from my travels and stuff. Okay, so once I have this in place, oh my god, it's so pretty. Sorry, I tend to get distracted here. I'm gonna go ahead and take my heart that I was working on earlier, and I'm gonna put some lace around the edge of it. Okay. Now, once I have that going, I'm just gonna put some hot glue in the middle, and the whole heart is gonna go in the middle of my little card here. Now, you don't have to glue the relic onto the box if you don't want to. You can turn it into a necklace and then just kind of store it if you wanted to. But that's really up to you. Now, remember those little resins I made or worked on earlier? I'm gonna put one up here just to cover up the whole of that. Okay. It's looking very, very nice. What do you guys think so far? Okay. So we have only 2 more things to do here. We're just gonna go ahead and cut some paper. And I have some vintage paper here. This is from an old collection that we all loved. This is from the Princess collection. This is the Olivia paper. I'm going to cut 2 pieces out for my inside here. And I believe the inside is going to be 5 by 7 if I'm not mistaken. So 5 by... And I always like to measure it first because sometimes these boxes, if they're not perfect, they tend to vary. So I'm going to cut this at 7. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces out at 5. 1, 2. You can find the rhinestone trim, ladies, at your local store. So if you go to like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, they sell it there. I'm going to use my artisan tape since I am adhering onto wood.
We have bagels downstairs for whoever needs them or wants them. Bagels downstairs.
There's bagels downstairs, ladies. Sorry about that. Now, artisan tape is very strong, so you need to make sure, ladies, when you put this on, it's a done deal, so you need to be very careful. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. And these are some pretty liners here. And like I said, you can put anything you want inside. You don't have to, you know, put jewelry if you don't want to, but I like putting, you know, maybe like some trinkets or some flowers. That would look really cute in here. Now on the back, you see the back is still bare, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut out another piece of paper. I'm using another piece from the Princess collection. And this one is this really pretty dot pattern. And this is Sophia paper. And I'm just gonna go ahead and measure the back here real quick. So it's gonna be about 5.5 by 7.5. Okie dokie. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to the back here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put on my paper. I'm just gonna go ahead and try and center it. Now for the side, I just kept it simple this time. I have some chains and some pretty things I'm going to put on there. Okay, I'm going to first start with a hook. I need one of my hooks that I have. These are really great for these type of projects. They look like this. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and move my box to the side, and I'm just going to screw in the hook. And you need to make sure that you're screwing it into the wood, because that's the way it'll stay in the best. Okay, I'm just trying to attach the hook here, but I'm having a little bit of a issue with the ribbon. Give me 1 second here. Let me get another one because that one seemed like it was a little on the duller side. Okay, so this is the way you want it to go. You want it to be right here. You need it to be really tight so that it holds your chain very well. Okay, it's gonna stick out a little bit, and that's good because we need it to attach the chain. So I'm using my Côte d'Azur chain, which is this one here. This is $9.96.95. Gonna go ahead and open it. And I'm going to take a large jump ring here, and I'm using my jump rings from my memory hardware collection. And I'm just going to go ahead and loop the chain onto the jump ring. Oops. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and take another chain, and this is a chain that I just had in my stash. It's a necklace, actually. It looks like a rosary. Kind of like it. So I'm just going to go ahead and hang this off of the same jump ring. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put that right here. Like that. Now, once you kind of have all your stuff together here, you can go ahead and add more trinkets. There's a lot of trinkets in this package here from this Prima trinket package. So I'm just gonna add a couple with some more of my jump rings. And you can really go crazy with adding all this stuff, you guys. I love adding all these little trinkety things. There's even a little locket in the little package. I'm just going to save the rest here because I don't want to put all of them on there. Just putting a couple. Okie doke. And then as a final touch, I'm just going to go ahead and add some little seam binding. And the seam binding is going to cover up my little hook there. I don't want that to show. Okay, and I'm going to just cut off the excess from the trim. You can see right here. What do you guys think? Isn't this pretty? It came together in less than an hour if you think about it. Then you can store whatever you want inside. You have this pretty stuff inside. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, and this is just something that you can do, and I will probably do here just because I did it on the last one. I took some of my Chantilly knobs. These are some $9.90, $3.50. I'm going to take 4 of these. And I'm not going to actually screw them in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the box and I'm going to use them as little feet. See how clever that is? Okay. Just going to put a little bit of glue. and their little feet. Isn't that cute? Okie doke. So I think that pretty much wraps that up. I'm just gonna go ahead and put this down like this so that the little feet dry. There we go. And here's the original if you guys want to see. And it looks sort of identical, right? And then here is the first one that I made. So you can see how these are just pretty to make, fun to make. You can add all kinds of fun stuff to them. All right. So I think we have a couple of announcements here. Let me grab my phone real quick. Any questions, you guys? I know there's that it went by pretty quick. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Sorry, Carrie, I'm just finding my email here. Alrighty, so it seems that the next show coming up is Tiffany. She will be altering a Prima birdcage, so pretty, with loads of embellishments. So she's going to be using paints and pretty things on the birdcage, so you might want to check that out. That's Thursday night at May 26th at 6:30. Okay, so make sure you guys check out Tiffany. And then Art Venture Phoenix, the registration opens, so join the Prima Art Venture group on Facebook for more details, updates, and any sort of things that are happening with the exclusive event. Just search Prima Art Venture and click to request the group. Danny will go ahead and add you. And if you guys have any questions or want any pictures of these boxes, I have them up on my blog. You guys can go ahead and check them out. I will also be teaching a couple of classes with the original box if you guys are in the area. Okay, and other than that, thank you so much for tuning in. It was a fun show, and thank you everybody for coming along. I will catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.